Hello, welcome to the program. You are watching High School Crossfire. We are only debating from or discussing societal issues. I'm Star Ashley, and of course today I'm with
St. Katherine Secondary School, Lira.
Okay.
My name is Achenkis. I am in Senior 5. On my left is Team Jemima. She's in S4. On my right is Kia Elizabeth Okaka. She's in S5 as well. And on my next right is Achengo Laura.
Is this your first time to be part of the debate?
Our first time was actually last year. This time is our second time to be in Crossfire debate, and we are very happy to come back.
And how did you perform previously?
The previous performance was actually good for us because we versed Mengo, and to us it was a giant team, but we managed to have just a slight proposition in our loss.
Okay.
So they got 75 while we had 70. So we found it was a big achievement being our first time in Crossfire.
Nice, well done. And this time, who are you versing with?
We are versing the mighty Namilyango College.
Wow.
Yes.
And what is the resolution for this time debate?
The IGG has failed in its role to fight corruption.
Wow, it's a tight one. I'm with Namilyango College. Yeah. How are you doing?
Very fine.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you very
Well
much.
done, you're smart. I love the neatness. Yeah. How is the feeling to be part of High School Crossfire?
It's the best because we're here to put up a challenge,
Okay.
and we hope to learn
Okay.
and teach the rest.
And how has it taught you as a student?
It has improved on our public speaking, and most of us here, as you can see us in blazers, taking on leadership posts in the great college.
Okay.
Yes.
And who are you battling with on today's debate?
We have us in St. Catherine's.
Okay. So you're not shaken?
No, we're just prepared for it.
Okay. And what's your resolution?
Our resolution is this house believes that the IGG has failed on its role
Okay.
to fight corruption in Uganda.
Okay. And how do you explain in a layman's language, someone who's watching you right now?
That the resolution is telling us to explain, not to argue about what the IGG's role is and whether it is executing it or not.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I can't say much on that, but of course, as High School Crossfire, I wish you nothing but success. Yeah. Only. Last time, how did you perform?
Last time we had BCK
Okay.
and we showed them.
You show them fire.
Yeah.
Definitely. More of the content only happens right here on High School Crossfire. Don't go away.
House rules. Each speaker has 5 minutes. The first and last minutes are protected. The judge will ring a bell to signal the protected time. The bell will ring continuously after 5 minutes.
The panel of judges, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Otim Roger Stephen from Namilyango College. Ladies and gentlemen, corruption is the ultimate betrayal of public trust by a person managing a public office. So, result, this house believes that the IGG has failed in its role to fight corruption. First of all, I'll put into light what the key terms of tonight's debate depict. There are some terms here that might seem peripheral, but they are as well pivotal to give a clear picture of what the motion means. First of all, to fail is to fall short of expectation in achieving a task you have been assigned with. A role is a task you have been assigned to do, and to fight is to combat or curb something. And corruption simply is the misuse of public resources by occupants of public offices, either in the form of embezzlement, nepotism, or other forms of corruption. The IGG is the person who heads the Inspectorate of Government, which is an agency that has been assigned with the task to fight corruption in this country. And currently, the Inspector General of Government is Betty Kamia. So, panel, we as team affirmatives, from a pragmatic perspective, think that the Inspectorate of Government has failed in its role to fight corruption. So, panel, the Inspectorate of Government is a body created in 1988 and assigned to fight corruption. It's common knowledge that over the past 30 years, corruption cases have been persistent, and at some point, they have been registering exponential rise in the number of cases, from the Chogam 27 scandal to the furnishing of PRDP funds and to the swindling of colossal sums of money meant of COVID-19 relief, and most currently, the Iron Sheet saga. During its first 30 years, the Inspectorate of Government registered negligible progress against corruption. And when in 2018, when corruption was at its peak, the president himself noted that the IGG wasn't working hard enough, so the State House Anti-Corruption Unit was formed. And what does this mean, panel? This means that the Inspectorate of Government as an institution weren't capable enough for this enormous job, and instead the State House anti-corruption unit intervention was highly needed. So why do we as Team Affirmative think that the Inspectorate of Government has failed in its role to fight corruption? First of all, the IGG has low conviction rates. According to a statistics by the IGG report in 2019, it states that 3,952 cases were brought for investigation in 2019, but out of those, only 1,952 were recommended for prosecution. And out of that also, only 1,029 were brought to court, and only 487 cases were resulted into conviction. This does mean that the conviction rate of the IGG is only at 40%. Final, what does this mean? This means that if you are a person who is occupying a public office, you know that even if you embezzle the funds, no one is going to convict you. The end product is always going to be acquitted. So our second point is there's shortage of credible evidence. So our third point as well is the IGG has failed to control political interference into its activities. Another point we stick to is that the failure to investigate high-profile cases. The IGG mainly focuses on the small fishes like head teachers and district chief administrative officers, but leaving alone the big people, the big wigs of the government and the ministries, we are the forefront of corruption. The IGG also basically funds mainly on embezzlement. So, panel, what's the biggest question of tonight's debate? What do these rampant corruption scandals reflect about the undervalued systems and the moral setup of Uganda? We know that the IGG basically focuses on the secondary aspect. It does not think about the kids. In this panel, we think that the anti-corruption bodies should work to incorporate honesty, transparency, and integrity as skills to be learned by school-going children. We need to delve into the analysis of the dynamic moral development of society right from a young age, because children are the future of the community.
Panel, ladies and gentlemen, this House believes that the IGG has failed in its role to fight corruption in Uganda. Backing on the case of Team Affirmative, they came here through their first speaker, and they gave a statistics of how the cases of corruption came, about 1,952 being recommended and ending up with about 400 being convicted. We are supposed to see, is there something happening or is there something not happening? What matters here is the fight being done or not? Team Affirmative fails to understand that corruption has been capped down. Let us look at back then when the IG was not in place. Corruption has gone down, and they're saying that 1,500 only were recommended and only 400. Those 400 counts a lot, not like those days when those 400 did not end up being convicted. They said the IG does not have evidence in their point. But looking at the statistics that we have, the IGG presents an annual report to the Parliament showing how they have handled their cases annually, and that our source is the New Vision. They came here and they said that IGG has failed to investigate. Panel, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we get to know that Team Affirmative is not informed in any way. According to our research, we find that the IGG has done a lot of investigation on crime and also encouraged fights against the crime. For example, it has investigated over, it did a lot of investigation in public offices, which ended up into the eviction of Geoffrey Leo Ogwok, that was investigated by the IGG. Panel, ladies and gentlemen, where do we deviate from the argument of Team Affirmative? Please not granted. For tonight's debate, our parameter is Uganda, and looking at the status quo that you have in Uganda, since the institution of the IGG in 1988, corruption has been capped down. Let us look at back days when the IGG was not there. The question in point here, has it achieved anything or not? It is wrong for Team Affirmative to come and start claiming that the IGG has failed in all its role. Has it really failed? We have seen things that the IGG have done when those days it was not done. Please, I'll take your POI later. Corruption includes bribery, embezzlement, nepotism. Corruption in those days was very high. That is why the IG was instituted with the major aim of investigating, arresting, prosecuting, and making orders. Panel, ladies and gentlemen, why do we see that the IG has not failed in its role? One, we have seen that they have recovered stolen funds. They have enforced the leadership code of conduct, that is our second argument. We have seen that they have done a lot of investigation, which is our third argument, which Team Affirmative seems to clash on. And fourth, we have seen that they have caused arrest and prosecution, which was not in the past. Looking at the recovered funds that the IG has done, for example, the IG recovered 30 billion. That was according to Daily Monitor. This is some amount that without the IG, we wouldn't have recovered. So we need to realize the fact that IG is doing something. It has not failed in its role. We did not see any clear reason that Team Affirmative has to tell us that they have failed. Secondly, the IG has enforced leadership code of conduct. We have seen people, leaders, declaring their assets. This is one thing that IGG has done. They declare their assets, which has made it very simple for us to follow who has what. And at the end, if they have what they do not have, that means they're already doing corruption. That is the beginning of investigation. Therefore, Team Affirmative, please, we did not take your case that IGG is not doing investigation. Thirdly, we say that they have caused arrest and prosecution. Like I told you, for example, Geoffrey Leo Gwok. I rest my case by taxing Team Affirmative to come and show to us how they have failed to prove the evidence. Thank you.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.